Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 25 of Just Jenny Lee. It is a little series in which I talk about not necessarily art related things while doing kind of boring, not necessarily art related things, though I think generally so. Today, I'm going to get back to work on finishing up these edges and just trying to do some of the touch ups on this painting, never quite done, so that it can be done. Um, so I just thought today I would talk a little bit about imposter syndrome. Are you familiar with that term, imposter syndrome? Because that is something that I feel like I deal with a lot. I've struggled to create content in the last few days because even though my little account is growing and somehow I'm approaching 500 subscribers, um, it's almost like the more people that I feel like see my content, the more I feel like, gosh, I don't really feel like I'm valid. You know, who am I to be posting? I don't really know if I'm valid to be posting. There's this piece of me that really wants to share, and there's a big piece of me that really feels very self conscious to do it. And I feel like I deal with this a lot in life. This is probably due to the fact that growing up, we moved constantly. It initially was because my dad was in the Navy. So I've lived in a lot of different states. I've lived in Hawaii. I've lived in California. I've lived in Texas. I've lived in Washington State. Um, and obviously upstate New York. Um, but what would happen inevitably is when you go to a new place, you don't always feel like you belong for a while. And we were going to a new place just frequently. When we moved to upstate New York, we stayed put in the area, but we were just really poor, like I've talked about before. And we moved a lot because we rented and we were just kind of transient. And so in this area, the public schools are all divvied up. And so there's like a whole bunch of uh, elementary schools, and they all, once they get older, they all go to the same high school. But the elementary schools are divvied up by like area. And all you have to do is cross like one little area and you're in a different public school. And this happened to me probably every other year or so, pretty much my entire childhood. I was always having to like reacclimate myself to new places. And so, as much as I would want to feel familiar, as much as I would want to feel like I belonged, it was just really hard, especially when kids are telling you you don't belong here. Kids like to be alienating for some reason. And so, not only did I feel like I didn't belong there, because a lot of times the cultures, even just across towns, are different, but definitely state to state. But I would kind of be in a new culture, in a new place, and maybe not understanding and just trying to like do the things, even though I don't even always understand why we're doing them. My husband likes to talk about growing up in the Catholic Church. He didn't really always understand why they were doing what they were doing. Now, I'm sure they taught it in the class or whatever, but I'm not sure he really paid attention. And so to him, it was all very mysterious. And he kind of felt like an imposter while he was there because in reality, he just thought, well, we're just copying each other. I don't even know why we're doing this. And I don't have the same feelings that these people are having. I'm not having the same experience as them. So I don't really feel like it's real for me. And so I constantly felt really alienated and like I was being an imposter in every situation. I've been to different colleges, I've been to different churches, and I've been in different marriages. And so, because my life has been so transient, I think I just have this proclivity to feeling like I'm an imposter wherever I'm at. I feel like that sometimes in the music part of my world. I don't feel good enough. I don't feel like I belong there. I don't feel like I so it's just interesting to me that when I get to feeling anxiety about creating content, it's because I'm looking at YouTube as this big world in which has a lot of different content creators, and some of them are just so good at just creating content. You know, I can be a great artist or a great teacher or a wonderful personality, and it doesn't make up for the fact that I don't know how to create amazing content. And so I just have to kind of like put my heart and soul in what I do out onto the internet and hope that that's good enough. And I feel like an imposter doing that. I know I don't have the same microphones and the same cameras and lighting, in the same experience. I know I don't know all the stuff about search engine optimization and all that stuff, algorithms. Like, I know that. I know I'm 50 years old and that really the odds are against me being able to compete against people even just half my age. Whereas in the past, people half my age would have struggled to compete against people my age. And now, like, the tide has turned with technology affecting our world. It does give me a lot of anxiety, and it's something that I'm like having to mull over and work through, because at the same time I feel called to be participating in this arena. um, I just get to feeling like really antiquated, outdated, obsolete, even before I get out the starting gate. I feel like I should put on an apron before I ruin my pretty dress trying to do touch-ups on this. So maybe I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to grab some paints while I'm at it and try to start matching things up here. And some of this imposter syndrome comes from the idea that I'm home and I'm doing this and I want to like be legitimate in a certain way, and like, I guess, need to justify to myself that this is a valid space for me to function within. I don't know about that paint. We're going to have to test it out here. So if you don't see me for a few days at a shot, it's very possible that I am suffering from some kind of anxiety. Because generally speaking, if I'm not having anxiety, then it's usually not a big deal for me to create content, and I have all the energy in the world to do it. So there's something really distressing to me about putting myself out there and being vulnerable and even digging into a painting. Like, the thought of trying to tackle this, it feels really overwhelming to me, and I have like so much pressure on myself. And really, like, there's so many artists out there that are just like mass producing amazing paintings, and I think to myself, well, why am I even doing this in the world of AI, in the world of digital currencies and technologies, and does it even matter? And then I have to just like step back and remember, if I'm doing what I feel called to do, then I have to trust that like God is watching and in control of it. I have to trust that He knows my heart. I have to trust that I will be guided and corrected if I'm on the wrong path, and that whatever I am putting my hand to, that He is a part of, will have its own value, if that makes any sense. It's not always easy, I think, for us to see the value in things that don't have like dollar signs attached to them. And so another thing I'm just trying to do is not put these types of qualifications on what I'm doing, which is really hard. I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to be a missionary when I grew up. I think I talked about this in a much earlier Just Jenny Lee, but my goal was actually to be a missionary. And like, I knew that would come with hardship and not having money and whatever, and dealing with extreme poverty perhaps, or difficult situations. And it's funny because I'm not anything like that now. I'm in quite a comfortable situation in reality. I mean, our budget is tight to pay for this big house, but we are comfortable and I'm provided for, and I get to be in my home that's comfortable and make art. And so I'm a far, far, far cry from the missions field that I envisioned myself that I would be in. But I guess maybe in a way I'm on a different mission, and that's to share light and love through my artwork, and to, I don't know, learn and grow. To just try to actually be my true self as it was before all the stuff happens to us. Like, who are we meant to be before we become jaded and traumatized and used and abused and taken for granted? um can I evolve into being that person because if I can, that's where I want to be. But every day it is a struggle. Every day I wake up thinking, yeah, that's not really who you are. That you don't that you know you're not good enough, or you're too unstable, you aren't focused enough, you don't try hard enough, um, you aren't just knowledgeable enough to get like to figure it out. And oh man, my world is just so full of doubts like every day. I'm not gonna lie, it's just the truth. It's just the truth. And so I don't really have good advice on how to not handle, like on how to deal with imposter syndrome, on how to not deal with it, I guess, not have it in your life. Um, because it's something I struggle with every day almost. I can just walk into a prayer room and feel like, wow, I don't belong here, you know? Um, so it's not a far cry for me to step in front of a camera and throw it up on YouTube and know that there's 100 million other channels out there and think, wow, I don't belong here. Um, I'm just trying to negotiate, or I don't want to negotiate with anxiety. I'm just trying to navigate the fact that the waves of anxiety like still continue to hit me. I honestly thought as I did this for the last several weeks, going on months now, that it would get easier, and somehow it doesn't. The stage fright seems almost more extreme at times. So, like, the goal was to be live streaming constantly, and I just find it really nerve wracking to do it. So, I don't know. My husband and I are just trying to work with the fact that I do have PTSD, and technically, I'm actually legitimately disabled by it, and this is just a space in which I can like rise above that and not be held in bondage by it. So this is kind of rambling, and I'm not even sure it made any sense. Um, I just thought I really wanted to just share like how this is hard for me. Really, I my husband says, "Oh, you seem so natural, and you make it look so easy, and you know you're so good at it." You know, I've been a teacher my whole life, and I guess that has always come pretty naturally to me. So when I'm looking at my iPad or the backside of my phone, like I'm doing now, I'm just trying to picture a student's face on the other side, um, or someone who's interested in art and creativity and color and light, and I just want to like connect with them. But it's like sometimes swimming through the masses to get to that person, and it's the masses that cause me anxiety. And I'm just learning, trying to learn, trying to weed through, work through, wade through, um, feeling like an imposter in a big world, being a very tiny little fish, not even a guppy, but like a little tiny amoeba in a giant ocean of stingrays and killer sharks and beluga whales. So, anyways, if you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Thanks so much. I'd love to have you like and subscribe and become a part of my journey. And if you're an artist, drop me a comment and I'll become a part of yours. It's Thursday, so it's almost Friday. So I hope you have a great rest of your week and that you have an amazing weekend. And I will catch you in the next video.